Hello, welcome back. So we're going to talk about the second body paragraph now. So it's the second view. The first body paragraph, where is it? It was the first view, right? One view, so why it's positive. And then remember on the plan, I even put it in colors. So the first one, positive, so it's green because it's like traffic light, green, go. Red is stop, so negative. And then the blue, it's kind of in the middle. So these are the points now that we're going to talk about, and it's the exact same format as this one. Let me just delete this. It's the same format as this. Okay, so you have a topic sentence, one idea, connector, second idea, example, done. Okay, except here we need a transition, right? Because your paragraphs, they can't jump from one to another because it makes it very abrupt, very short, and it creates this rigid movement in your essay. You want your essay to flow. You're getting marked for this on the rubric, so cohesion. Right? Is it logical? Are there logical transitions? Does it flow? So in this one, we said there's a myriad of reasons as to why asking personal questions during an interview can be advantageous. Here, we're going to say, however, there are some negative aspects to asking personal questions during an interview. And then you can say one of which is that. So see here I made it even shorter, right? There it was a full sentence. Look. Here it was a full sentence. Right? There's a myriad of reasons as to why asking it was one sentence. Here I kind of made it half a sentence. You can do it both ways. It's completely up to you. You're the author of the essay, so please get creative with it. So one of which is that, and then our first idea was that it can get too personal. So however, there are some negative aspects to asking personal questions during an interview, one of which is that they can get too personal. Dot. Okay? And then we're going to explain it. Okay? You can say to further or to clarify or to explicate. To further explicate. And when I'm choosing these words, you guys, it's happening all in my head all the time. When I'm writing these essays, I'm like, okay, is it this word? No, this word is better. Okay, so I'm just literally thinking out loud. I'm telling you what's going on in my head right now. That way you guys can kind of relate to it, and that's what should be going on in your head, okay? You should have a lot of words, and then you should be able to pick whichever one is the best. But to know those words, you need to learn the vocabulary. Once again, I told you I have it on my other course. And reading helps so much. Okay, it's subconscious, but most of the time after you read, you know a word and then you don't even know where you know it from because you were reading. Reading, listening, learning these words will really help you to boost that academic vocabulary. So to further explicate, so this means like to explain further. It just sounds a little fancier. So to further explicate, there are some life situations, occurrences, let's fix this guy. Which one, do not say you or I. You only say I when you're giving your opinion. So which one does not wish to share with someone they have just met, especially an employer. Okay, especially an employer. So to further explicate, there are some life occurrences which one does not wish to share with someone they have just met, especially an employer, right? So this means there's some things that you don't just randomly come up and tell to random strangers. There are some things that we don't want to share, or it's hard to remember, or it brings bad memories, or it's just something bad that we've done and we don't want to talk about it, right? Everybody has that. It's completely normal. It's part of life. So, and then I'm going to give an example. So I'm not going to say for example, I'm going to say for instance, because I already said for example. So for instance, comma, for instance, there we go. One, or you can say a person, an individual, a human being. So one can, you can say, for example, if an individual has lived a difficult experience in their personal life, which is hard for them, which is very a difficult experience in their personal life, which is which he or she has just learned to overcome. Talking about it to the employer can bring back all the negativity of the event. This can result in the potential employee. This can result in the potential employee not being fully concentrated and optimistic during the interview. Okay, so I just explained this one. So let's read this last two sentences. For instance, if an individual has lived a difficult experience in their personal life, which he or she has just overcome, right? Sometimes if you can say it with one word, say it with one word. Talking about it to the employer can bring back all the negativity of the event. This can result in the potential employee not being fully concentrated and optimistic during the interview, which can lower his or her chance of obtaining the job. Right? It's true. If the employer asks you about something, and let's say in your personal life, if he asks you, are you married, and then you've just gotten divorced and it was a bad thing because your husband beat you or something like that, or your wife did something to you, right? And you've just overcome it, and you're seeing a therapist, and then your employer asks you, and it brings back all the memories and all the negativity, and you get super emotional and you can't focus on your interview, right? We all know that. So it's not good in that way, because there is a fine line. You can ask someone what their hobbies are, what they like to do in their free time, but when it comes to personal experiences, especially family, it's something that not everybody can talk about with ease, right? So that's basically what I'm trying to say here, except in academic language. So this is one idea, right? As you can see, it's longer than the last one. The last one was about this long. Let me just, right? So there needs to be a balance, right? The paragraphs need to be visually the same. So because this one is longer, my second idea is going to be like a little bit shorter. That way it balances out, and my two paragraphs will look approximately the same in size and length. So the second idea was that it's subjectivity, right? So we talked about if, let's say, your interests don't match, or if he really hates your point of view personally, the employer can just not hire you because of that subjective judgment. Right? So not saying in addition, but you can say furthermore, or not furthermore. In addition, moreover, if an employer asks for the employee's personal beliefs, or let's say if an employer's personal beliefs do not match with those of the employee, this can result in a subjective judgment, in a false subjective judgment from the employer. This can result in the individual or the employee in the potential employee not receiving the job. Excuse me. Not receiving the position. Receiving the job. Okay, so what I mean, let's read this again. Moreover, if an employer's personal beliefs do not match with those of the employee, this can result in a false subjective judgment. Why is it false? Because just because you are not religious, or because if you think that having kids is a lot of trouble, or you think that everybody should have kids, it doesn't mean that you're bad at what you do. Let's say you're an accountant, and having kids or not having kids has very little, practically nothing to do with whether you can count well, right? So from the employer's side, just because he doesn't like what you like, he or she cannot hire you because of that, which is a false subjective judgment, right? There are so many people who have so many different opinions from ours, but they're good at what they do. At the end of the day, in the job, as long as you're not hurting others, you're good at what you do. That's all that the businesses care about, right? As long as you bring in money, you do good work, that's all that matters. Very little businesses care about their employees as much, which is a whole different topic. But for the purpose of this essay, it would be a false subjective judgment, right? Because what you like or what you don't like, as long as it's not hurting anyone, should not affect your job quality. And if it doesn't, I don't see why the employer wouldn't hire you. But most people don't, right? Because they just don't like you. So this is what I mean. Right? This can result in the potential employee not receiving the job, regardless if they are, if he or she is qualified for it. There we go. Okay, and then this concludes my my second body paragraph. So you can see they're about the same size. This one's just a smaller font. That's why it looks smaller. This one is font 28, so if I make this 28, just so you guys can see. Okay, it's approximately the same size, right? So this pretty much concludes my second body paragraph. Once again, make sure you read it sentence after sentence. You see, always when I'm typing or when I'm writing, typing in this case, I read it sentence by sentence, right? I never move forward without having read the past sentence. It's very important. It eliminates or reduces the potential mistakes that you can have, and it's so much easier to check your work if you read it sentence by sentence. It saves you time, right? Rather than if you write a paragraph and then you have to read this paragraph, trust me, you're gonna have so many things to fix that it's gonna take up more time. So write the sentence, fix it. Write the next sentence, fix that one. Read the two sentences together and keep going, keep stacking it up, and then you'll see how effective it is. So we're gonna read this paragraph, okay? However, there are some negative, don't forget to indent. However, there are some negative aspects to asking personal questions during an interview, one of which is that they can get too personal. To further explicate, there are some life occurrences which one does not wish to share with someone they have just met, especially an employer. For instance, if an individual has lived a difficult experience in their personal life, which he or she has just overcome, talking about it to the employer, or you can say discussing it with the employer, discussing it. See, I'm changing things all the time. Discussing it with the employer. And it's important when you read, you know how I'm reading out loud, especially, it's important that when you're on the, in the exam, you're also reading it out loud, but in your head, right? You know how you can use your voice in your head to read, like you can hear yourself without being loud? Do that, because when you read it out loud, you find so many more mistakes than if you were reading it in your head. Okay, it's been proven, because our brain automatically fills in the information that we're missing. So, discussing with the employer. And if you see that something just sounds better, write that down, right? You don't need no scientific reason for you to change the word. If it feels better for you, if it sounds better, do it. You're the author, as long as it makes sense. Can bring back all the negativity of the event. This can result in the potential employee not being fully concentrated and optimistic during the interview, which can lower his or her chance of obtaining the job. Moreover, if an employer's personal beliefs do not match with those of the employee, this can result in a false subjective judgment from the employer. This can result in the potential employee not receiving the job, regardless if he or she is qualified for it. right? So that's the second body paragraph, and then I'll see you guys in my next video.